Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. Good morning to Hidden. Kabir is in here. Solo Sky is here. Vivek, VJ, Kishan. I think I've seen KB as well. Mags is here. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. I suppose we should get on with the show. Good morning, everybody. The 23rd of December, 2025. It's 10 a.m. Central European time, not 11 a.m. because Santa didn't bring all of the gifts yesterday. So somebody has to go and collect them from the shop that Santa left them at. So I need to go out early today. But I didn't want to miss a stream. The idea is over the Christmas period, we're going to try and stream as many times as we can, especially Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, just to try and be a little bit of light and joy in your lives over the Christmas period. And as you can see, I am freshly chopped. I have been sheared like a sheep. Now, one thing I have noticed is just how white this beard is. And as always, you wait for a phone call for an entire hour and they call you within 30 seconds of me going live. So I've had to cut them off. Anyway, Danny, good morning. I hope you're incredibly well. Now, we are live, of course, on Binance Square. We're live on the other channel, the red thing, you know what I mean. And what are we going to go through today? Well, we have, and I hope you're sitting comfortably because this is going to be an absolute banger. We've got, of course, we're going to look at the markets. We've got some X-Files, but let's just go through this. Donald Trump's new chair. Ooh. We're going to go through Ethereum, XRP, Aster, Hype, Link, and Sui. I know. And if that's not all, we're going to have a look at the Bitcoin and the Ethereum chart because I haven't looked at charts in a while, probably since my eyes were so messed up. But now I can see. I'm going to look at the charts. And I want to show you the Bitcoin chart first, then the Ethereum chart, because there's a massive difference between the two of them. You might not think it, but there is. So we're going to have a look at the two charts for those as well. All of that in an hour will be done by 11. I'll be out at the shops collecting the presents that Santa dropped off at the wrong place. And we will be back at it. And again, chat is kicking off. It's great to see. I hope you're all well. Let's get on with the show, shall we? And there's my, I don't know what you want to call it, headception, I suppose. Let's go and have a little look then at where we are with the prices. Now, there was a little bit of an issue yesterday, which we're going to go through. And that is Bitcoin was rejected, I think, 3 times now at $90,000. Okay, it hasn't broken it. 3 times, it's bounced off $90,000 and come straight back down. 88, 87, we're currently at $87,500. Ethereum back under $3,000. XRP at 187, Solana at 124. Cardano 36 cents. Chainlink at 12.28. Now, I'm going to have a quick chat at the very beginning about a video I just watched from Ben Cowan. We're going to cover that in a second. Now, the only gainer, really, other than gold, is Curve Dow. Everything else, it's a red day today. Okay. Ordera beat, not heard of that in many, many moons. Midnight is down, but remember, it's up 44% in a week. That's been a good gain. Pump.fun is one of my picks. That's been absolutely kicked into dirt. Mantle is down. Monero is down. Zcash, Story, Near. Hype is down at $23.95. Ethena, Canton, Pudgy is down. Aave, as you'd expect, everything is down. Now, very quickly before we get onto the X-Files, I watched a Ben Cowan video today, and as you know I like to do, I like to look at things. By the way, before we get into this, just making sure that today I've actually brought the screen up and you're not just looking at my ugly mug for 10 minutes. And Ben Cowan was talking about the fact that this time the monetary policy was the reason we had no alt season. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. He said a few more things than that, and he compared it to 2021, and he compared it to the fact that we had looser monetary policy. This time we had tighter monetary policy, and we just didn't get that flow. And you know what? I agree with him. We got the rate cuts way too late, and we've covered that many, many times before, and he's right. But the thing that he said at the end is also the thing that I was saying, which again is nice to hear when somebody else says it and you agree with them. And that's what we're going to go through on the Bitcoin chart, because I keep saying we're going to get a relief rally. We're going to get a dead cat bounce before we really go into maybe a more prolonged bear market. And you normally get that bounce after you've had a fairly big correction. So I'm going to go through that as well. But it was nice to see that Ben's kind of direction over the next 3 or 4 months ties in with what we've been saying. And that's a nice thing to hear, because he's obviously got way more people working on the charts than we do. So that is where we are with that. Now, I have some absolutely horrific news, which probably the majority of you will not know anything about. And that is one of the reasons I got into doing this was this guy. Okay, this guy on your screen now. He is called Adam the Woo. Okay, and he is a streamer. He's not massive. He's got 700,000 followers. He's not in the tens of millions. And he's basically my age. He's about, I think, a month or two older than me. And he basically goes around amusement parks. He goes around the world. He does those kind of things. And he kind of got me into it, because I looked at him and went, you know what? He looks a little bit like me. You know, I have, of course, a little bit more shaving going on than him. But we're the same age. We kind of do, you know, we've got the same outlook on life. And he died. He died last night. And I found out about half an hour ago. My wife messaged me and then called me about it. And it's a bit of a shock when you see somebody who kind of inspired you to do what you do. And it's a bit of a shock to then see that person, unfortunately, pass away. So I'm in a little bit of shock about it, because, you know, he's one of the guys that I kind of have as inspiration. The other guy I used to have as inspiration, he went absolutely mental. Did a lot of things which we're not going to talk about on the channel. So the people that I followed have now gone by the wayside, which is a shame, because, you know, they're of my age, they're of my mentality as well, and my outlook on life, and it's just a shame. Now, somebody who seems to have outlived everybody for centuries, because I do believe that she's some kind of vampire, is of course Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi earns $80,000 to $90,000 a year being a senator, is she? I think that's what they're called over there. And she's managed to turn $785,000 into $133 million in 37 years of office. And she is absolutely incredible. And this is one of the reasons that some people in Congress are trying to ban families and themselves from being able to trade in crypto, because I don't care who you are, she has outperformed Warren Buffett, who according to the experts is the greatest investor of the last 30 or 40 years, and she has absolutely outperformed everybody. So again, we go from one person who's maybe gone too soon to somebody who has fleeced everybody and is still hanging around. There's no justice in the world. Now, 2025, I did a video on Binance Square, did a live stream on Binance Square, and I think it was also on YouTube on Saturday. To do with this, I kind of covered this off. Maple are one of our partners. We work with Maple. We kind of covered all of this off. They made a nice little video. It's only a minute or so. $5 billion of assets under management when they started the year at $300 or $400 million. So they've 10, 11, 12x'd in a year. The 25 million ARR, that is annualized revenue. So basically they're doing over $2 million a month in revenue. And that's an important number to take into account when a lot of companies that do this kind of turnover, they don't make any profit. Maple make profit. Maple make turnover. And they are listed everywhere. They're on Binance. Syrup USDC is also on Binance. You can earn a yield on that. It's a dollar yielding asset. And again, a shout out to Maple at the end of 2025. We might not get a chance to do another video on Maple between now and the end of the year. So that's my final shout out to Maple Finance. And they finished the year, I think that the token is up 150% since the start of the year as well. Now, Mike Selig, the last X-File, he is the new chair of the CFTC, the commodities, I believe. Donald Trump chose him. We're going to talk about that in a second. David Sachs is also more... I mean, all of these people on here are literally all the pro-crypto people. Hester Peirce, pro-crypto. David Sachs, pro-crypto. Paul Atkins, pro-crypto. We've now got everybody in the American government on the same page when it comes to cryptocurrency, crypto assets. And that is simply unbelievable. We only have to go back probably 12 months to find the exact opposite of what we're seeing right now. Gary Gensler fought tooth and nail to convince everybody that every single cryptocurrency bar Bitcoin was a security. We had Biden. I don't know what Biden did, by the way. I think Biden just fell over once in a while and lost his train of thought. But again, we've gone from that to a pro-crypto government. And maybe the conspiracy theory that I've got, which now the Russians believe, which is that America is trying to load their debt into cryptocurrency. Maybe that's a fact. Maybe they're going to use stable coins to get rid of their debt. Maybe they're just going to buy up all the Bitcoin, sell all the gold, deflate the gold price, which will damage all of their competitors. Maybe that's the case. Who knows? All we know is that this is now a pro-crypto government. And what we want to talk about next is the next probable leg up for crypto. And that is this. Trump may appoint the new Fed chair in January. Now, as far as I'm aware, Powell can't step down or won't step down till May. So I don't know how Trump can appoint the Fed chair in January unless there's a crossover period. Maybe there's a 4, 5, 6 month crossover period where the new Fed chair goes in and works alongside Powell. Maybe there is a rule from the 1800s or the 1900s where they can kick out Powell. Who knows? But Trump is expected to nominate a new Fed Reserve chair in early January following Jerome Powell's term expiring in May 2026. The nomination could influence US monetary policy, impacting markets and economic forecasts. Now, the Kevins, as far as I'm aware, were the ones that were going to be nominated. Now, Stephen Miran stated in a Bloomberg interview, if nobody is confirmed in my seat by January 31st, I assume that I will stay. Market stability hinges on these developments. For an in-depth report, see this. We don't need to know about this kind of stuff. Trump's Fed appointments have been critical in shaping the central bank's approach. His potential next pick could either maintain continuity or diverge significantly from Powell's policies. This is absolute nonsense. I mean, we knew we'd get the ETFs. We knew Gensler would be gone. We knew all of these things. We know that when Powell goes, rates are going to be slashed. We know these things. So don't sit on the fence or get AI to write an article for you. Do your work. Do your job, as Roy Keane would say. So I'm expecting this to happen, and it's going to be big news, and it's going to be the sea change. Now, as I keep harping on, we're going to go to the Bitcoin chart now. As I keep harping on, I think the earliest bottom, 6 months after the peak, which was October, takes us to May-ish. I said this yesterday, it's not going to happen in May, maybe it happens in June or July. But the one thing I want to draw your attention to now is the Bitcoin price. Because this, and I've taken everything off so I can redraw everything, this is where I think we are going to go. That's where I think we're going to bounce to. And it was 103,000 not that long ago, but the moving average is coming down. So I think we are going to see this. Okay? That is what I think we're going to do. Everything is lined up for a dead cat bounce, a relief rally, whatever we want to call it. Now, again, I think this, which is the next level down here, we're going to stick that in there. That's where I think we're going to come to. So my little red line over here is actually slightly misdrawn. Look at that. I actually drew it to the right line. That's what I think is going to happen over the course of about the next 4 or 5 months. So I think we're going to rally, as I said previously, to maybe 103, 104,000, but I don't think we're going to do that now because the moving average is coming down. I think we're going to rally to about 101, maybe. I think we're going to get back to the 100,000, and I think that's where we're going to find out that we don't have any gas left in the tank. And then I think we're going to come down to the dip that we had. And was this Liberation Day? Was this around Liberation Day, I think? I think that's what we're going to do. I think that's the move now for Bitcoin between now and May or June, whenever that may be. And maybe Maybe we front run again. Maybe we do the kind of thing where we know we're going to get one of the Kevins into the Fed. So maybe we don't bottom in April and May. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And maybe we start to recover from here. And maybe we're back at 80, 90,000 by May or June. Maybe. I can't look into the future and guess. I will do my predictions in January, though. I did 5 predictions in January 2025. 4 of them have come true. And the one that didn't come true, which was my outlier, was that Sam Bankman-Fried would be released from prison. That's the only one that hasn't come true. And if you look at what has happened in the last couple of months, people have been talking about Sam Bankman-Fried possibly getting released. So if he's released in February, March, April next year, I'm still going to claim moral victory because nobody was talking about this when I was in January. So I'm going to make 5 more predictions in January 2026 on what I think is going to happen over the period of 2026. There's going to be my prediction. So that's what I think Bitcoin is going to do. But what I want to draw your attention to is this. And that is to where Bitcoin actually is compared to the previous cycle. So where Bitcoin is sitting right now, there is clear... Let's get rid of that. There we go. There is clear space above the previous all-time highs, which were back in 2021. We're above where we were in 2021. Yes, we're below the bull market support band. Yes, we're below the moving averages, but we are above, and we have clear space between there and the 2021 all-time high. The 2021 all-time highs, because there was 2 back, the 2 peaks. Now, I want you to remember that when we look at Ethereum in a minute. Okay, so we're above, clean air, clean space, above where we were back then. In fact, we are, what, $18,000 above the previous all-time high. Remember that number. We'll get to that in a second after we've looked at this bit of news about Ethereum. And again, storms in teacups. Let's talk about storms in teacups. Kabir, you can't blame it on the Fed for a bad year. You absolutely can, Kabir. You absolutely can. And if you go out and actually read some proper commentary, you'll find out there's a lot of people blaming the Fed. Strict fiscal policy reduces the flow of money into an economy. That affects everything. Okay, it doesn't just affect crypto, it affects everything. Go back to 2021 and look at the fiscal policy we had in 2021 and look at the fiscal policy we had in 2025. 2 different markets. We're talking about Bitcoin here. We're not talking about alt seasons. We're talking about Bitcoin. Okay? There's a difference. Bitcoin leads the way. Now, if we don't have money, we have high interest rates, we have a constricted economy, we are not going to get a $250,000 Bitcoin. I don't care who you are. Well, no matter what these people were telling you, we were never going to get that. Okay? The interest rates, which should have come back down in May and June, didn't start to come back down fast enough. Okay? It's been constricted up until when the Fed started putting money into the economy, which was when? The money started going into the economy in the first week of December. We peaked in October. There is a lag between money coming into the economy and the money circulating and the money filtering down to Bitcoin and other risk-on assets. If we can't blame the Fed, why has gold run to all-time highs? Because people think the economy is in a bad way. There are many other arguments we can make about this, but you absolutely can blame the Fed. Major Ethereum treasury company forced to sell $74 million in ETH. I would not read too much into this. This is, again, a glorification of a headline, and you'll see lots of people putting those kind of like scared emojis up on X about this, but actually when you read the detail, they're moving more into a real world asset based strategy. So ETHZilla has sold a large portion of its ETH holdings, triggered fresh debate on whether institutional players are turning bearish on Ethereum or simply managing balance sheet risk. I can tell you for a fact, I think last week There was a $500 million outflow from the Ethereum ETF, which is fairly substantial. Fairly substantial. Just give me 1 second. I keep hearing people at the door. Give me 1 minute. It's okay, I sent them away. They were here with Kabir's presents. I've said send them back. We don't want presents for Kabir this year. Right. So they sold 24,291 ETH for $74.5 million as part of the early redemption of its senior secured convertible notes. The company said it will use all or significant proportion of the proceeds to repay the outstanding debt with redemption scheduled before Christmas Eve. This is a move in their strategy. Okay? Just because they are selling, it doesn't mean they've given up their conviction. Lots of people sell apart from Saylor, remember? We've had Arthur Hayes selling, buying back, selling, buying back. So let's not worry too much about that. The company also announced it will discontinue its MNAV dashboard, which previously tracked its Ethereum holdings and net asset value. ETHZilla said future valuation should focus on revenue and cash flow from its real-world asset tokenization business rather than its treasury alone. Again, change in strategy does not mean everybody is throwing the baby out with the bathwater. They're changing direction. They are more than entitled to do that. And for everything that's gone on, real world assets are existing assets moving onto the blockchain with verifiable revenue, with a history of making revenue. If we look at the Ondos of this world, if we look at the Remoras of this world, if we look at what ETHZilla are trying to do here, even if we look at Maple Finance, they're all using traditional finance, they're all partnering with traditional financial institutions, and that's just the direction they want to take. So I think the headline grab for me is sensationalist. But of course, I don't blame the person writing this article for this, because I think it's a fair point. It's a fair point that they've raised this. But it's not that they've given up on Ethereum. They are changing direction. And I also agree that you should focus on revenue and profit. Revenue and profit are a big thing. Now, Ethereum, if we look at it like this, and just take this bit here, you will see it looks pretty similar to Bitcoin, okay? If anything, I would say it's probably closer to its bull market support band than Bitcoin. And I would say, you know what? It actually looks in a better position than Bitcoin. But that's not the story. The story is, remember before I showed you the Bitcoin chart, and Bitcoin is up here, and it was $18,000 above its previous all-time high in 2021. Well, guess what? Ethereum topped out at exactly the same all-time high that it reached in 2021. And this is symptomatic of pretty much most alts that have gone anywhere near all their all-time highs this cycle. And in fact, if you look at where we are now, and we throw a little line in the middle there, just to kind of show you where we are, we're pretty much at support from where we had resistance after the dips in 2024 in September and July 2025. So Ethereum and a lot of alts are not in the same position as Bitcoin. Whereas Bitcoin is up here, the alts are down here, and they're back in the pack. They haven't actually moved out of their zone. So whereas Bitcoin, you could argue, is 25% above its previous all-time high, none of the alts are. Most of the alts, if you think now that this is what, nearly, let's call it $5,000 for argument's sake, we are 40% down on Ethereum, the number 2 asset in the world. We're 40% down from not only the all-time high in 2025, but also the all-time high in 2021. We could do the same thing with the likes of Solana. We could probably not do the same thing with XRP or BNB, but certainly we can go through the pack. We can start to look at other ones. And what you'll find is 2021 has done this, and 2025 has done this, which means probably 2029 is going to do that. So you can look at many things and say there are more alts. Yes, there are. But that's not an argument for me, because yes, there's more alts, but 99% of them are trash. maybe the attention has been drawn away from those alts. Again, I don't agree with that. Retail has not come back to crypto. Retail came back to crypto via ETFs. That's what retail did. Maybe retail got burnt in 2021 and they never came back. But I don't believe that the conviction plays, the actual projects that are going to work and going to be here for another 5, 10, 20 years, I don't believe those have suddenly become back assets overnight. So what really happened is, and again going back to Kabir's point about you can't blame the Fed, back here, the US economy printed 30% of its total USD that ever existed. It was printed in that period. The UK did roughly the same thing. The Eurozone did roughly the same thing. This spike was built on money printing. This spike here is based on contraction, high interest rates, money being sucked out of the economy. Okay? And we can say it's not the governments. We can say it's not the money supply. But numbers don't go up if we don't have money coming into a system. It becomes a zero-sum game. So if Bitcoin wins in a zero-sum game, everything else has to lose. For Bitcoin to go to $126,000 with no real extra money coming in, the market caps barely broke through where we got through in 2021. My prediction was 6 to 10 trillion. We got to what, 4.5 trillion, 4.3 trillion? So where did the money go? The money didn't go anywhere because there wasn't the money to come into the economy. Because after this spike in 2021, inflation did this, interest rates did this, inflation did this, and the money supply did this. So the entire flow came against us, which is why I said from the very beginning of the year, we need interest rates cutting. And what Trump did, which absolutely battered us, was started talking about tariffs. And the Liberation Day absolutely spooked everybody, including the Fed. And that's the biggest mistake I think the Fed made, which was not understanding what Trump was doing. They didn't understand it. He told them, they didn't believe him. And that is, I think, why we didn't go that little bit extra higher. Because there's not, the money wasn't there. The interest rates weren't there. The risk on assets were just not desirable in that economy. And we know that because gold is at all-time highs. Gold does not reach all-time highs unless people are fleeing from uncertainty. So if gold is at all-time highs, that should tell you everything you need to know. And when gold went on that massive run, guess what? Bitcoin fell off the edge of a cliff. So we cannot blame the Fed, but we can blame everything the Fed has done, and not just the Fed, the UK government, the Eurozone governments. We can blame all of the governments. We can blame the money supply because it wasn't there. I'm not saying the money supply is the be-all and end-all, but there's no fresh money coming in. We don't go to all-time highs. But I also don't agree with the conversation where we blame the fact there's now 200 million alts, and therefore the good alts don't pump because the eyes aren't on them. I don't buy into that story. I think the good alts will always win. And as I keep saying as well, the ETFs which are being applied for, those alts are probably going to be the ones that really do succeed. Chainlinks, even Hedera, the Litecoin one somehow snuck through, Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, BNB, those ones, and anything else that comes along, they're the ones that are going to get the passive income into them because they're all part of a fund of funds and direct investment from people who are putting, say, $100,000 into a Bitcoin portfolio, a crypto portfolio. 50 or 60% goes into Bitcoin, maybe 10 or 20% goes into Ethereum, and then it trickles down to the Hederas and the Litecoins and things like that. So I think that's what's going to happen next year. That's going to be one of my predictions as well. Now, the first XRP denominated yield-bearing product just dropped. We covered this probably 2 months ago now, I think, and it's now launched. Let me just bring this one back up. Where are we? Right. Now, there's a few problems in crypto. when you've got assets that are not proof of stake. So Bitcoin is obviously the obvious one. Litecoin is another one, and XRP is another one. They are not proof of stake, and therefore they don't really offer a yield. And one of the big kind of goals for 2026 is going to be unlocking a Bitcoin yield. And we talked about this yesterday with Saylor and credit and all this kind of stuff, so I don't want to go over that again. But Ripple is in a similar situation. Why do you hold a crypto? You hold a crypto to accumulate in value over time, and ideally you expect it to accumulate value faster than Bitcoin, because if it doesn't, why are you holding it? If you expect Bitcoin to do 20% a year, 30% a year on average over the next 5 years, and you expect XRP to do 20% over the next 5 years, why do you hold XRP? You should hold Bitcoin. And I know in another universe you should diversify your portfolio, but in this industry the only true asset you should hold 100% of is Bitcoin. Then if you do hold Ethereum, Solana, XRP or anything like that, you should hold them on the proviso that they outperform Bitcoin. That's the only reason. The only reason you should hold them. So Ripple has or Flare has created an Earn XRP Vault, kicking off in collaboration with Upshift and Clearstar. Enables Web3 people to collect yield denominated in XRP without needing to apply difficult DeFi trading techniques. And again, we talked about this yesterday with Binance and having a DeFi offering that allows people to tap into the likes of Aave and things like that, and Morpho. And maybe that's what comes in 2026 as well. I'm pretty much telling you what's going to be in my 2026 video, but there you go. The intuitive Earn XRP platform begins deploying capital across various smart contracts. The Earn XRP tokens arrive, which represent the FXRP plus overtime generated profit. Clearstar Labs, the creator of this trading strategy, dishes out the FXRP across multiple yield-bearing contracts. This strategy is these things. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. I just want to bring it up. So it's a fully on-chain, fully transparent yield product denominated in XRP, built on Upshift Vault, strategy and risk curated by Clearstar, powered by FXRP via FA Assets. Carry trades FXRP staking and AMM liquidity. Now, one thing I would say about something like this is, I'm bringing it up, you should go and have a look at this, of course. I don't know who they are, I've no contact with them, but go and look at it. But one thing I always say, when a new product goes live, and the best example I've got of this is Zeus. So ZBTC is a Solana based Bitcoin product, and I've said I love this because you can stake Solana and earn Bitcoin. You can stake your BTC, you can stake your Zeus coins, whatever it might be. But I've also said that I'm not going to go near it for probably 6 to 12 months, because these new types of products, you just need to let them have their teething problems. Maybe there's a contract exploit, maybe there's a liquidity problem, maybe there's a lockup that they've hidden in the terms and conditions. So these are the kind of things you should look at, read about, understand, and then maybe just sit on the side. Or maybe put 100 XRP into it, something small, just to test it. Again, if these things work, expect to see the likes of Earn XRP or something similar in Binance, because that's probably going to be what you're going to see for Bitcoin, especially, maybe Litecoin, and certainly XRP in the coming months. At the minute, the likes of Binance cannot offer you a yield on a lot of your products. If you look at what they're doing with Bitcoin, I think they're working with Solve Protocol. I think it pays about 1.9% on your Bitcoin. So again, these things do exist, but crypto might be new, but these Earn projects and products that are on assets which don't offer a native yield, these things are still very, very new and in their infancy, and they need to ramp up. So for me, go and have a look at this. It is exciting. Of course it's exciting. But just because it's exciting doesn't mean you should go all in on it. Go and look at it. Go and read about it and see if you like it. That's all you got to do. We don't put our name to anything we cover on here. We just try and bring you as much as we can, as much content, wide and varied content as we can. And last night I thought, you know what? We need to have more content on here that's spread across. That's why we're doing XRP, Ethereum, we're doing Hype, we're doing Link, and we're doing Sui today. We're trying to do a little bit more today than we normally do, where all we ever talk about is banks, ETFs, and everything else. Trying to be a bit more diverse today. So Aster is to allocate up to 80% of daily fees for Aster buybacks starting today. Aster will dedicate 80% of fees for automatic and strategic Aster buybacks to support the token value. The decentralized exchange, which we've talked about before, it witnessed a mild rebound on Monday shortly after the announcement. This is one of those things, again, it's not going to have an immediate effect. The same way that Jupiter doesn't have an immediate effect, but it will. We talked about Maple on the stream on Saturday and the buybacks on them as well. We've got Hype, we're going to talk about in a minute. So these things will take time to start to drain. You know, if you've got a full bath and you unplug that bath, it's going to take a considerable number of minutes for you to notice that the water is leaving the bath. It's the same with this. 80% of the platform fees, 40% of the fees will go towards a daily buyback, which will be executed on-chain each day. The remaining 20 to 40% of fees will be held in a strategic buyback reserve. Such a system is in place will allow Aster to conduct targeted purchases based on market conditions. Again, I like this. This is doing it in a clever way. Okay, now sometimes clever doesn't mean better. If you look at Jupiter, they simply buy every day. Up or down, up or down, up or down. Now at the minute, the cheaper Jupe goes, the more they buy. I think we said this said this on Saturday when we talked about Maple Finance. The Maple tokens, the Syrup tokens, they're now buying back double, if not triple, the number of tokens they were buying back 4, 5, 6 months ago. Number one, their revenue has doubled, so more money to buy back with. And number two, the token price has gone from 60 cents to 30 cents. So they're buying 2 or 3 times the amount of tokens that they were buying 4 or 5 months ago. If Aster starts to break down towards 60, 70 cents, they'll be buying double the number of Aster that they're buying today. It's a very simple strategy, and over time it will have an effect. But again, we seem to go from fads. We seem to go from airdrop fads to farming fads to buyback fads. Now, what I will say about buybacks, they're not, it's probably a bit cruel to call them fads, because it happens in Microsoft and Disney and all of these other companies. They do, in fact, buy back their own shares. Of course they do. So do I think this is a good thing? Absolutely. In November, Aster saw a spike of 30% and hit 130 after Binance co-founder CZ revealed he holds $2.5 million worth of the token. Since then, it's remained under intense selling pressure. Again, it was set up so people could farm. If you look at the spike in volume, that spike in volume came from people trading on the platform to build up trading volume. That's probably the best way to look at that. The token has recorded a steady decline amid broader market weakness. Again, don't look at the price now, look at the price that it's likely to get back to. We can't look at any token right now and say this is fundamentally flawed unless it's absolutely underperforming the market. If the market is down 30 or 40% and Aster is down 30 or 40%, it's in line with the market. Nothing to see here. If it's down 70 or 80%, then yes, there's a massive problem. And if you believe in Aster, if you think the revenue that Aster generates is enough to bring the price back up, go and buy Aster. It's not for me to say, but I hold some Aster, and I'll probably top up some Aster. Good morning to you, Manjeet. I hope you are well. 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin. Absolutely, Kishan. So they're going to hit resistance at 88 to 90 cents. That seems about fair. Again, I'm all for this kind of stuff. Or I just want to see it done in a way that isn't gimmicky. Because what you don't want is you don't want a company to strip itself of all of the assets at its disposal to grow as a business. So when you say things like, well, what we're going to do is we're going to use all of our profit to buy back the token. Well, your company doesn't grow. When are you going to take on more staff? How are you going to build out version 2, version 3? How are you going to market the project? How are you going to integrate maybe onto different chains? All of that takes money. If you look at Maple, I think Maple is it 25% of the revenue goes towards buying back the tokens, and 75 goes towards business operations and growing the business. And again, Maple operates a different business model, a different revenue structure, so maybe 25% is fine. But with Aster, if they're making $10 million a month from their profits, and they're spending 8 of that on buying back the token, that $2 million has got to fund absolutely everything else in the business. And maybe they've gone too heavy on the buybacks. Only time will tell. Now, the team isn't shorting Hype. Hyperliquid Labs clarifies insider trading claims. Again, I'm covering both of the big dexes at the minute. There is another one out there. Is it called Liquid or Rain or something, which we haven't covered simply because it hasn't been around for very long. So they've clarified that recent claims of insider sell-off Hype are from an ex-employee. The project added that team members and contractors are prohibited from engaging in leverage trading on the token or face immediate... Sorry, my phone keeps dinging. I'm being pestered. The project said that strict policies because the community deserves a team that is fully aligned. Now, I totally agree with that. And recently, I think Binance had a problem with somebody doing something similar. That was immediately dealt with. 24 hours, case closed. That's how it should be. But what you can't do is you can't stop ex-employees from doing things. And probably the biggest example of this, I don't know if you remember, right at the very beginning of XRP's journey, they had one of the OGs, and I can't remember how many tokens this OG had, 300 million XRP, something like that. And every time they sent him his XRP as his payoff, he just dumped it on the market, which suppressed the price. And this went on for like a year. There's nothing XRP can do about that. The same way, if an ex-employee walks out of your business and they've got 1% of your supply, you can't stop them from dumping that token because they no longer work for you. So I don't blame Hype at all, and nobody should blame Hype. One of the flywheels, this is talking about their burns, which they're doing as well. Aster has started doing it, but Aster is buying them back, not burning them. One of the flywheels and token accrual has been automated buybacks from generated fees. So far, the project has bought back 27.4 million Hype tokens, 11% of the circulating supply. So that's starting to make a huge dent in the supply of Hype. All the acquired tokens and future buybacks will be burnt after the recent proposal was passed by validators. Put differently, 11% of the supply worth 942 million Hype has been removed from circulation, reinforcing long-term deflation. And again, I am for this. I think it's a good thing to have in a bull and a bear market as well. But what you've got to be careful of is you've got to be careful that you don't leave yourself in a bear market with not enough funds to continue your business. And that has to be a golden rule. So somebody in Hype has to sit there and say, what happens if we lose 90% of our revenue? Let's say there is a really deep correction, really deep bear market. Can we survive? Let's say they're making $100 million a month. And let's say they're spending, what is it? They're spending, is it 50%, 80%? Let's say it's 80%. Can they survive on $20 million a month? Yes. Can they survive on $2 million a month? And that's what you have to look at. They have to do one of two things. Put aside enough money for business continuation for 2 years, or be able to survive off a 90% correction to the downside in trading volume, trading fees, and therefore profits. And then they'll work and it'll be perfectly fine. Because there is no point in doing all of this stuff if we go through a bear market and they run out of money and they collapse. Because then the token is worth zero. Aster, same thing applies to them. They have to be able to operate off maybe 5% the revenue they're generating now. And if they can, fine. All well and good. But you have Aster doing a buyback for the treasury, you have Hype doing a burn. Both have the same effect, which is draining the supply of tokens in availability. That's what they're trying to do. And again, I'm more than happy to hold both. I keep saying to you guys, you're not in a cult. You can hold Solana, you can hold Ethereum, you can hold Bitcoin, you can hold Hype, you can hold Aster, you can own them all, okay? And if somebody says anything, you tweet on X, I've just bought some more Hype. If somebody comes on and says, you should be buying Asta is the only one you need to hold, then you know that they've got a problem, okay? Because that's not how it works. It's your race, it's your investment, it's your future. That person, you don't know who they are, you don't know where they live. Don't let them sway you into believing that you have to hold Asta and you can't hold Hype or Solana and Ethereum. You know, you see these maxis fighting it out on X all day. I mean, shut up, move on. What's your problem? Now then, Chainlink price forecast. Link edges higher despite lagging retail and institutional demand. Now again, Chainlink has very recently introduced a buyback mechanism, and it's very similar to Asta's. They're buying the tokens back and they're putting them in the treasury, and I think they've now got quite a few 100,000 in that treasury. Chainlink should not be at $12.50 even at this stage of the market. We should be looking at $20 to $30. If we're looking at projects which are massively undervalued for what they do, for me, Chainlink is one of them. Do they generate revenue? Yes. Do they generate a considerable amount of profit? Yes. Are they fundamental to the smooth operation of crypto? Yes. The best example I can think of describing Chainlink to you is Cisco. At one point, said this before for the OGs, you'll know this, something like 97% of the entire internet ran through Cisco. 97% of the internet ran through Cisco. Now, that was in the real world. Chainlink probably has an absolute monopoly on a lot of things in crypto already. The on and off ramping, the CCIP where funds can move from one chain to another, kind of replacing wormholes. Every single thing they do, also they do prices, they do oracles, so that they're an oracle, so they do the prices. So if you need an up-to-date price for Bitcoin, you can get it from Chainlink. Every single little tiny thing that they do, they make a slither of revenue from that. And boy, that adds up. So the price is down, $12.50. It's supported by short-term technical signals reinforcing a bullish outlook. Investors should temper expectations for an extended breakout, considering retail and institutional interest in Link is lagging. Again, of all the things I care about, I don't care about interest in Chainlink right now. I care about the business. Business and token price, remember, are two separate things. Maple should not be 30 cents. Chainlink should not be $12.50. Dupe, whatever Dupe is at now, should not be 30 cents, for example. Some of these tokens, which have slid with the market, have slid because simply people are taking risk out of their portfolios. Maybe they're selling everything to get into Bitcoin, maybe. But some of these projects which are down here right now, they shouldn't be at these prices. They should be substantially higher. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of projects which are overvalued. But I don't think Chainlink, Dupe, Aerodrome is another one. I don't think they're overvalued. So the open interest is averaging $511 million as of Sunday. CoinGlass data shows that open interest, which represents the notional value of outstanding contracts, averaged 1.36 billion on October 10th. So that's a significant drop. Although relatively high, the OI levels in October marked a significant decline from 1.95 billion in August. The larger the open interest, the higher the retail interest. Hence, a suppressed derivative is a deterrent to the uptrend, potentially dampening Link's ongoing recovery. Now again, I would say that if you're looking at, I kind of covered this as well, you know, what coins do you hold in the next bull run? What coins should you have for the next bull run? Well, I have, surprise, surprise, an entirely full bag. I am going to be the Santa Claus that doesn't go down any chimney, doesn't empty his sack anywhere this Christmas, because I've got a full bag of Ethereum, of XRP, Chainlink, full bags, okay? I'm going to hold my Chainlink. If there is a relief rally to the upside and we do go back to 101, 102,000, and some of those alts which I might want to get rid of, if they get back to where, remember I bought these at very, very low prices, so if they get back above those prices, I might take some profits on them. But Chainlink, I'm just going to hold Chainlink. I think it's one of those projects. I put it in the same category as Ethereum and Bitcoin. I'm just going to hold those tokens. Same with Maple to some degree as well, because I think Maple's product is bear and bull resistant, because it's about TradFi trying to use the collateral within its crypto to then take out loans to then grow the business. So I think Maple is bear and bull resistant to some degree. I think Chainlink is bull and bear resistant to some degree. So I think I'm happy with holding my Chainlink. I'm absolutely not happy with the price, but I'm happy holding my Chainlink. And I think it's not really conviction play, but it's a play which I don't lose sleep over Chainlink. But what I do lose sleep over is this. And this, again, is another one of my warnings that I always bring you about altcoins. And the one that I raised about Sui was probably 6 months ago now, where there was a Sui treasury formed. And I said, absolutely brilliant. I can't wait to see how this does in a bear market. Because when the price falls 75% from its $5, $4 price target, and it comes down towards $1. By the way, what are we at now? Because I have a funny feeling a lot of these treasuries are going to be massively underwater. What's the price of Sui now? 143. Okay. So we spoke about this. I'm sure it was about $4 or $5. Let's have a look. You know what's nice these days? Obviously, the Oracle got me memory for my PC for my birthday. And I tell you what, it's so much easier to operate nowadays. So back in August, and it was probably about August. Is that August? That January? Okay, it was about here then. So about May, July time, there was a treasury formed, and it was a Sui treasury. When the price was there we go, it was about $4. And I said, I can't wait to see it come down to $1 to see where these treasuries are going to be, because I think there's going to be contagion. And another one of the big things for 2026 for me is I think some of these treasuries are going to go to the wall. Okay? There was a lot of FOMO. There was a lot of people trying to jump on the bandwagon. There was a lot of people who thought, we're going to make a lot of money out of this. We're going to make a lot of money out of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a treasury. And all that treasury is going to do is buy a supply of the token. Sui was one of those treasuries. Now, you've got Raoul Pal. You've got Crypto Wendio. I think Crypto Wendio. You've got, Cassie Sui, I think she's called nowadays. So you've got a lot of big names in crypto throwing their weight behind Sui. And, you know, Raoul Pal, I've liked him many times on the channel, but he's like a frog. Have you ever played the game Frogger, where you jump across the road avoiding the cars? Well, Raoul Pal was Ethereum. Then he was Solana. Now he's Sui. Okay? He's like a little ribbit jumping across that road. Okay? Now, everybody's allowed to change their opinion. Everybody's allowed to change their opinion when new information is presented to them. Now, the issue that I have with Sui is better technology does not mean a better market cap and a better price. Because if that was the case, Bitcoin would not be 60% of the market. Simply put, it would be overtaken. Ethereum certainly wouldn't be second. Probably XRP wouldn't be up there. Solana wouldn't be up there, because there's better tech. But better tech does not come with the name, the community, the history, the team, the developers. You could create the greatest oracle the world has ever seen tomorrow, and it will take you 4, 5, 6 years to get anywhere near Chainlink. Chainlink, first mover advantage. Ethereum, first mover advantage. Bitcoin, the first mover advantage. So jumping onto these things is great. Now, I did a video about Sui many moons ago when my videos used to get watched. I think it got 4, 5, 6, 7,000 views. We really love the project. The team behind it basically all walked out of someone like Meta or Google, I can't remember which one it was now, all walked out together, had the largest investment in a layer one blockchain of all time. It was like $600, $700, $800 million. It was a ridiculous amount of money. They've built the best product. What did I say in that video 2 years ago or a year and a half ago? I said, this needs adoption. I'm sitting here today saying the same thing. It needs adoption. It's got deep, it's got DeFi, it's got lots of things. It's not there yet. So if it's not the finished article, why are people setting up a treasury to buy its token? And in this instance, they have got a SUI ETF. And again, I'm less concerned about this than I am about the treasuries. But it's a warning. It's a great product. It has great potential. It hasn't fulfilled its potential yet. So, Canary Capital has unveiled changes to its SUI ETF, including a new name, ticker symbol, and updated structure. The fund will now be known as State SUI ETF, reflecting its focus on staking SUI tokens. This change highlights the growing trend of cryptocurrency funds that combine price tracking and yield generation through staking activities. Bitwise has officially filed with the SEC to launch a spot SUI ETF that will track the real-time price of SUI. This development aligns with the increasing demand for ETFs following direct exposure to digital assets. Right, okay, very, very good. So, there we go. A key feature of the State SUI ETF is the involvement in the staking process, where the fund locks up SUI tokens to earn additional rewards. Staking is becoming an increasingly popular method. Again, said the same thing about Ethereum. For the entirety of this year, I've been saying the Ethereum ETF is going to blow up when staking goes live. I still don't know if it's actually officially live or not. It probably is by now, but I've not seen anything that says it is live. Although specific details about the staking providers await disclosure, the fund strategy is in line with the growing demand for yield-bearing crypto assets. Now, what I would say about this is two things. Number one, we do not want to see ETFs having voting rights on the chain. Absolutely vital that they do not get voting rights. We do not want BlackRock owning 10% of the Ethereum and having 10% block vote on Ethereum or SUI or Solana. That has to be a law by the US government that stops that from happening, because BlackRock has a habit of going into a business, getting rid of its board, bringing its own board in, and changing the direction of a company because you invest via BlackRock, which give them the voting right. Everybody calls BlackRock this big black evil company, but you buy their ETFs, you buy funds and stocks through them, and they have a collective vote which they then use to go and change the direction of a company. I don't want to see the same thing in crypto. So I think the ETFs have to be banned from voting, number one. Number two, having a portfolio of cryptocurrencies that have ETFs is probably going to be the best shout of 2026, in my opinion. It takes the cryptocurrency out of DEXs and SEXs and into the eyes of the financial experts. Now, you're at the coal front with Binance or whoever you use. You can buy it directly, but you are the 1% or the 0.1%. You can do that. You can go and trade SUI right now and buy it, or Bitcoin or Ethereum. But your aunt, your uncle, your nephew, your niece, your gran, your granddad, your mum, your dad, your sisters, your brothers, they probably can't. They will use simpler ways to do it. And it's Binance's job to find a simpler way to do that. And I think in their app, you've now got simple mode. That's the path they have to take. But a lot of people in America will go, I've got $100,000 or $1 million and I want to go into crypto. And they'll go to their financial advisor, and then financial advisor will say, we've got these 15 different 15 different ETFs. What we'll do is we'll allocate proportionally. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, top. Then we're going to take maybe 5 or 10% of your portfolio and buy SUI, Link, Litecoin, Hedera. And passively, all of those different cryptocurrencies will receive that buying pressure, and over a long period of time and with a lot of money, those cryptocurrencies will benefit from that. And that's the direction I see, probably in America at least, probably around the world. Why is that the direction? The direction is that because it's in the financial institutions' benefit to push you down the route of an ETF because they take their fees. So they're a gatekeeper to crypto. Don't go and use Binance. Boo. Come and use us. I've got this shiny new office, this shiny new suit, and so that Maserati outside, that's mine as well. Ask yourself a question. Where did he get the Maserati from and the shiny office from? He got it from you. Why do you think pension funds have the nicest office buildings in the world? Because you've paid for them. Don't be a fool. Use Binance or whoever else you use to buy your crypto directly. Okay? In fact, I think on Binance, they've got some trading pairs that have got 0 fees. So you don't even pay anything. You want $100 of Bitcoin, you buy $100 of Bitcoin. But please bear in mind that you pay for those lovely offices. But I do think the ETFs are going to be the ones to pick next year. And as I've said, I'm going to make probably a portfolio based solely on ETFs. I'm going to make it as a video and I'm going to put it out there. Now, the thing is, and this is something else to bear in mind, my portfolio and my $15,000 to $1 million portfolio, both of those portfolios, I think every single one of them is already, apart from one, which is Matic or Polygon now, every single one of them is already going to be an ETF. So the top 3 or 4, then you add in Link, that's going to have its own ETF. So they're kind of already there, but there are others that I don't hold. I don't hold Hedera. Algorand is probably going to get one as well. I don't hold any Litecoin, which I think Tariq will be very sad about. And I think that could be 2026 plays. Anyway, we are at 11:01 already. I didn't realise the time. I can't believe I've brought that picture back up either. So yeah, so I'm gonna end how I started. So this gentleman here, for those of you that are late, this is Adam the Woo. He was one of the reasons I started doing this, mainly because he's pretty much born within 2 months of me. He kind of does the same thing, video content. He's kind of dishevelled looking as me, although I don't look bad today, you know. I look at myself sometimes and think I'm scruffy. I don't look bad today. I look like I should be an evil mastermind in a C-listed movie. You know, Captain Drake. The evil Captain Drake. That's who I look like today. Well, Adam the Woo passed away, very sadly, last night. And the kind of the people I look up to in crypto and in other types of streaming, they have all sadly either passed away or they have gone off the rails. One of the two things. Manjeet, what should I buy now, sir? Well, I can't give financial advice, obviously, but I would have a strategy of buying Bitcoin. If you can afford to buy $1 of Bitcoin a day on Binance, buy Bitcoin. $1 a day. If you can't afford $1 a day, $1 a week. If you can't afford $1 a week, $1 a month. Just buy Bitcoin, okay? That's kind of been my motto ever since we started the channel. If you have a big enough portfolio, let's say you've got a portfolio of $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, then you should look at starting to add the top 5 or 6, the Ethereums, the Solanas, the XRPs, and things like that. That's what you should start looking at. And the reason for that is, and I say this a lot, and maybe we'll do this over Christmas. Maybe one of the videos I'm going to do with the Oracle over Christmas, because we are streaming tomorrow morning as well, is I'm going to look back at the 2021 and maybe the 2017 top 10 crypto assets and then compare them to today. Because you look at crypto as if it's going to be here forever. I look at Adam the Woo, I think he's going to be there forever. I think he's going to stream forever. I'm going to enjoy his content forever. He's just been to Paris, he's been to London, he travelled the world, okay? He's only just come home, and I think a lot of the travelling probably had that effect on him. But if I go back to 2017 and 2021 and show you the top 10, there's only a couple of assets that have been there all this time. XRP being one and Bitcoin being the other. A lot of those coins have gone by the wayside, so don't ever look at that top 10 or 20 tokens and think they're going to be there for the next 20 years. Now, we are in a more mature market. Yes, we're in a bigger market. Projects have built out a lot more. 2017, 2021 was a lot more speculative. I get all of those things. But don't expect to see every single coin here in 5 or 10 years' time. Newcomers will come along. Maybe Hype will become a top 5, top 10 token. Maybe other projects which we don't even know about will come along. Maybe there'll be an AI project come along that will go into the top 10. So it's an ever-changing list of tokens, and maybe we'll do a video on that. Maybe that can be one of the hours. But try and stick to the tokens that are big enough in market cap. That's what I would say. Now, is there a quiz tonight? We're supposed to be having our Christmas quiz tonight. That's supposed to be tonight. And we haven't planned it. So we're going to have to either do an awful lot of work and plan it or rethink it, because we've got so much stuff to do to get ready for Christmas. We've got new rugs, we've got new tables, we've got new kitchen stuff. I've got to go and pick some things up now, and I'm going to try and cram it in. So when I go out, the reason for me doing the stream early today is I can go out early, get the stuff, get home, maybe put something together for tonight, and then maybe do a quiz. But it will be a crypto quiz. Can you use Binance in the UK? I think you can. No one wants a half-baked quiz. Listen, Kabir, you don't have to play the quiz. Put it that way. You don't have to play the quiz. It won't be half-baked. It takes me 4 hours to put a quiz together. That's the rule of thumb. So if we've got a 4-hour gap between now and 7 p.m, so we've got 8 hours between now and 7 p.m. to put a quiz together, all we need to do is physically write the quiz. That's it. That's all we're going to do. So if I've got a 4-hour stint between now and then, I'll do it. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Why am I not on full screen? You're either going to see me tonight or you're going to see me tomorrow at the same time with the Oracle, because Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, let me just bring this up. Actually, there is one. This is the important thing. All joking aside, this is the important thing. So, don't be alone. We realise a good number of you are away from home or at home alone over the Christmas period. If you want to have someone to connect with, we are streaming the following days and times on Binance Square and YouTube. Tomorrow morning, Christmas Day morning, New Year's Eve morning, and New Year's Day morning. 10 o'clock, not 11 o'clock. So the days which are considered to be the most depressing, saddest days, they're the days that we're going to stream for an hour. So use it as a reason to get up early, get yourself a coffee, get some breakfast, sit down. It doesn't matter if you really like us or not. It doesn't matter. We'll do something entertaining. Maybe we'll look at the cryptocurrencies from 2019. We'll do something fun on those days, but we are there. Now, if not a single one of you turns up because you're having a great time on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, that's what we want. If one of you needs to turn up tomorrow or Christmas Day, turn up, okay? We'll have some fun. We'll talk about some things. We're not going to let the Oracle look at charts. We're not going to go through and have a ranty Fitzgerald, okay? We're going to have some fun. That's what they're about. And that will be those 4 days over Christmas. And in the meantime, between the days of the 25th and the 31st, we'll also be streaming as well. We've got a Maple quiz night coming along. We have the end of year awards, which we haven't even written yet. We've got a lot to do. So with all of that, my phone keeps ringing 10 to the dozen. So with all that being said, thank you everybody for showing up, including Kabir. It wouldn't be a show without Kabir being Kabir in chat. Kishan, you can come along. We will talk to you. In fact, what I'd like you to do, Kishan, and whoever else turns up, we're going to do maybe one of them as an AMA. So why don't you bring 4 or 5 questions along to the night or the morning, sorry, and we'll answer those questions. Anything you want us to talk about, we will talk about those things. But anyway, until tomorrow, see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.